Yes. Okay, so if anybody here doesn't know Amy, Amy Hubbard from Maine is here to talk about reports and take it away. Well, you're muted, Amy.
Classic faux pas. All right. So I'm sharing my screen. Hopefully everybody can see it and you can hear me now. So Melissa asked me just to talk about reporting and just to give a little bit of context without going into too much detail. So I'm the executive director of early college at the University of Maine system. So our implementation of Canusia has all 7 of our universities in it. And then we also partnered with the community colleges. So they have the community colleges are also in our system. They have a different dashboard. It's exactly the same, but it has their logo, but behind the scenes, all of our stakeholders, our counselors, it can actually see all of the information of all of our activity at both Maine's public universities and Maine's public community colleges. So because I work at the system level, reporting is really important to us. We have a lot of folks asking for data and information about our programming, and we receive a lot of state funding to support our programs, so there's a lot of accountability. So having these reporting features is really helpful. In the early days, I would send people like Google polls and like, tell me how many concurrent enrollment classes you have, how many teachers do you have, how many students do you have, because I just didn't have access to any of this. We still use our IR team, so our institutional research team, for official reporting, for example, on our final enrollments and those pieces. But this Explore EC using our iteration of Canusia to generate reports and to get really quick interim data has been really critical. So feel free to stop me at any time if you have any questions as I go along. So what I did was I went through and pulled I just pulled a couple of reports, and I'll pull them up just kind of quickly so that you can see the fields without showing you too much student data. But you can see that our report list is pretty long. We do offer free tutoring through NetTutor, and our campuses have multiple ways that they can enroll students in that. These registration and student summaries, these are mostly for me so that I can report out at the state level. DOE export, so we use this for billing. So we can provide summary. We have some students that qualify for public funding that we get reimbursed tuition from the Department of Education, and some students that are not. So this report allows us to pull just the students that qualify for the public funding tuition reimbursement. We also, because we have multiple institutions, we have duplicated students. So a lot of our reports will show the same student on multiple rows if they're taking multiple classes. So then we also have an unduplicated student report. This one I think is really interesting, the drop withdraw request. So we process our drop withdraws in the system. So I will just pull this one up, and I ran a report before the meeting. So you can see that you can select the term and the campus. In your case, for most folks, I think you just have one campus. But I just wanted to show you this one because for folks that are going for NACEP accreditation, you have to have an evaluation plan. And let me just quickly delete the student names. But I just wanted to show you this report because this is really valuable and I think could be incorporated in an evaluation plan. So this notes field, we can look by course, university, but this is just the reasons why student has dropped the class. And so I think this is really interesting. One of the things that I'm struggling with is we've had folks go through and come up with themes as to why students drop so that we could potentially down the road have a drop down to summarize those themes and then have a line for students to write in an answer. I'm a little nervous about that because I'm a little concerned that we wouldn't get the same detail of information as to why students dropped. But I did want to show this. And if you have questions at any point, please feel free to let me know. And then this also documents when the drop was processed and when it was requested. So this is really important when we're determining how we mark students in our registration system. We use PeopleSoft. Our version is called Main Street. And then the other report that I pulled is detailed student export with classes. And you can see again, we can select term, registration status, when they registered, and then where they're taught at. And so this piece we added so that we could separate concurrent enrollment students, so we could see where they're taught, and then the instruction mode. So we have different codes for how those courses are taught. So sometimes folks will ask us questions, well, how many of your courses are online? How many are in person? How many are at the high school? We can narrow it down through this report. And so I'll just show you. This is the detailed report. And so you can see that this has all of the information about the students. Let me just get rid of those. And then we also have, we collect parent information. So we have, the parents' contact information. We've been using this a lot with our promotions. So we're trying to encourage students to matriculate with us. So that parent information has been critical. So a lot of our enrollment managers will include parents in communication. And then we did start using this. We started asking parents to answer the question about their education level, because we do want to keep track of the number of students that are first gen. Depending on how you define first gen, it's roughly between 40 and 50%, depending for us on whether or not you count the associate's degrees. I have a hard time not counting an associate's degree as a degree. Federally, they define it as only having a bachelor's degree, but I prefer the counting an associate's degree as a degree, since we work so closely with our community college partners. But this data is really important, and this is something that our universities don't have access to until the student matriculates with them. So I think this is really a critical piece of information. This could also be used with the evaluation plan to find out, are we targeting students that need these programs the most? And I'm not sure how it is in your state, but in Maine, we provide everyone with free and reduced lunch. So using that as a metric for whether or not we're serving low SES populations isn't really a good data point anymore. So focusing not necessarily that we would use first gen as a proxy for socioeconomic status, but we can use it as a data point to show that we're serving a population that might not otherwise go to college. And then we do collect data on demographic information, and this is important as well. In Maine, we don't have a high diversity, but we do have pockets of diversity, particularly in our communities that have immigrant and refugee populations. So it's not necessarily that we would look statewide at the populations that we're serving, but looking at areas, for example, Portland, where there is a higher percentage of students of color, we would want to see that our percent of students of color in Portland represents the total population in that area. So you can see this report is very robust. It has a lot of data. Even just looking at what students can take. So we have concurrent enrollment, but we also allow our students to take courses online and on campus. So looking at just the title of the courses can give a lot of information of the wide variety of opportunities that we're able to provide to our students. And then we also have the high school listed. So if the high school is listed here, then we know it's a concurrent enrollment class. And then counselor information, all of the information about the course. And then the GPA as well. So in Maine, we have multiple measures. We basically let anyone register as long as they've met the prerequisite and their school counselor approves them. So we don't collect a specific GPA, but we ask our counselors to select a range of GPA. So just looking here that we do have a student that has a GPA between a 2.0 and a 2.9 is an important data point. And we did add some additional layers of support for our students. So we may want to keep track of the student to make sure that they are successful, given that we let them take the course, but they have a low GPA to begin with. Equation variable is for billing. I'm not sure how folks do it here, but we keep track of we use this to help keep track of how many credits students are eligible for to receive for free through the state. And then we just had some additional needs in terms of like going by single campus, because that when you pull up multiple classes, we almost had 5,000 students last year. So those reports can get pretty cumbersome. And then we did add students by grad year. We are doing a direct admit program. And by the early college offices aren't necessarily leading the program, but we are providing the reports to our enrollment managers, to our system office, and then provides it to the enrollment managers. So we provide the list of students, and our system institutional research team applies the grades that those students have earned. So if students meet certain thresholds in terms of numbers of credits and their GPA in their early college coursework, they will receive a letter that basically says you are automatically admitted to our institution, to our university. And so that's what that report is for. And that has been widely successful in terms of the number of students that are admitted to our institutions, that are matriculating, and the number of students that have shown an interest in our universities. It's been something that we've been working on for a long time, saying, why are our students having to do the Common App if they have 12 credits and they've earned an A in all their college classes? Why are they having to do the same process as students who've never enrolled in our institution? So we're pretty excited about that. That's being run by an external, like I said, our enrollment managers. Any questions about reports in general and how we're using them?
Hey, Amy, it's Kyle.
Yeah. Hey, Kyle.
Question about the student drop and withdraw. Do
Mhm.
the students only have the ability, or do like the counselors have the ability? Like who submits the drop request?
So it's only submitted by the students, and I'll just show you really quickly what that looks like. Just so you could see the dashboard. Just fake the student agreement. So this is the student dashboard, and we did set it up that the student has to request it because we really set up our system that it is student driven. We didn't want counselors to do things for the students. We want students to lead the process. We do get, of course, sometimes parents running the show, and sometimes counselors try to run the show, but we really have set this up that students have to do it. So you can see this is what the request looks like, and it kind of explains the statuses of their application. And then the student would pick, obviously nothing shows up because the student's not in the class, and then they have to explain, and then they submit the request. But to get to your point in a roundabout way, once the student hits submit request, that will also submit to the counselor. And when our team, our early college team administrators process the request, because it's only the request is made in Explore EC, but they have to be processed in our PeopleSoft system. And we do that manually because we want our folks to keep an eye on it. And when they process that request, anytime there's a change in status on an application, it does generate a note to the counselor. So the counselor does get notified, because we know that some of these students are using these credits to also count towards their high school transcript.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah. Other questions about that? So one of the other things that Melissa asked me to talk about is how we strategies that we use to help our stakeholders be more self-sustaining. And so I'm just going to go in as one of our counselors. And so one of the things that we added, well, we do have a course search in there for our counselors, but we did add a reports feature for our counselors. And so I don't know if I pulled one. So counselors can basically access the same reports that we can. The data are not as robust as what we have, but they can select the terms. which campus, and you can see that on the counselor side, they see all of Maine's public institutions. So that's one thing that's really nice for them, where before they would have all of this data, but disaggregated. And then they can select which registration status. If they wanted to know who was registered or who withdrew, they can pull it up by that. And then it will show up here. Let me see if I can pull this one up. Yeah, it's not pulling up. So we'll have to talk to Abby about that because I'm not seeing their report. But eventually the counselors would be able to pull these reports and then just have like a spreadsheet that shows all of their students. They can see their students on the dashboard as well, but this just gives them a way of having access to it via spreadsheet. So when counselors ask us, I just want a list of all of my students, we can say, you can pull that report on your own. Not all of the counselors, surprisingly, kind of mess with their accounts and play with this. So it's kind of interesting that we have to tell them that you have a reports feature to pull that report, but it is also part of that. Our counselors are like most high caseloads, overworked, underpaid, all of the above. So it's just a matter of kindly, gently reminding them that they have access to that information and that they can use the system to the fullest. The other process that we worked on was providing transcripts. So this used to be done in a number of ways from our institutions. Some were printing transcripts and mailing them. Some were emailing them as a kind of a internal joke that our team was going to go to FERPA jail because if anyone intercepted that email, we'd be in trouble with all of those student grades. And so what we started doing was providing transcripts through the portal. And then just recently for summer and fall grades, we asked our IR team to pull student grades and provide spreadsheets with just the student name, the course, and the grade, so that instead of having to print individual transcripts for every student, our counselors now have access to a spreadsheet with those grades. So if students want formal transcripts, they still have to go through our universities to collect them, but this has really streamlined the process for our teams. Instead of all 7 campuses pulling transcripts separately, and for the counselors, they can just go through a spreadsheet and upload those grades. And so this doesn't show anything here, but if there was a transcript uploaded, then the school counselor would be able to just click on it and have access to it. So it's called transcripts. We probably should change the name of it to just say student grades, but they can access the student grades themselves. We don't, with the exception of concurrent enrollment, because students take classes on campus and online, we don't have all of the student grades in Explore EC for folks to access. So we needed a way to get that information to our counselors. Any questions about that? I'm going to switch back to me. And then Melissa asked just about how we're using the system in terms of aligning to NACEP standards. So for our team, this is year 0. So no institutions in Maine are accredited through NACEP, but it is a goal of ours. And so we're counting this as our first year of following everything to the letter. I can't say it's completely smooth, but we've come a long way and we're definitely in a better place than we were 5 years ago when we started this system-wide initiative. So we're pretty excited and terrified at the same time about that. But we do have our faculty in the system. So we did add the module to have our faculty monitoring our student activity. And so this is the list of the classes that this professor oversees. And you can see the visitors and then the courses that they see. Here we go. I'm going to go in as her. So she's a faculty member, and you can see the site visits that are logged here. And then we're going to work with Avi about being able to pull reports so that we can have this in a spreadsheet. And then this also shows the syllabi, so you can see the teachers that work with our faculty members and the status of the syllabus in terms of being reviewed. And then this will also show the grades once the high school teachers have uploaded the grades. So we've come a long way with this piece as well. Still some bugs to work out, but it's definitely kind of like when you made that transition from your paper applications to online applications. It's the same thing, making that transition from paper records of communication and site visits and reviews to having all of the information available in the system, so that we can, when it comes time to NACEP accreditation, we'll have everything documented. Melissa, what did I miss? I know that was a lot of fast talking, but what did I miss?
That was everything on the list that we talked about, but the only other thing I thought, if anybody got from this that they need a report, basically, I think it's a matter of telling us succinctly what it is that you need and who should see it. And then I think we'll have an influx of requests. So have a little grace with how long it might take, but it won't take long, I'm sure. And if we can't do it, I will tell you. But I think other than that, that was kind of it for from my end. I don't know if Bobby has any other comments, but
thank you, Amy. That was really good. I was just seeing if Brandon was there. A few weeks back, Brandon had sent out an email on the NACEP listserv about his dashboard and how they're using Power BI to create this public dashboard that all his stakeholders access. So if yeah, I see Brandon there. Brandon, do you have a few minutes to share and talk about that?
Sure. Yeah, I can do that. I mean, like, I'm on a Mac right now, so there's not a lot I can show because most of it was on the PC side, which I hate PCs. Like, they're so buggy in Microsoft. It's just such a pain. But anyway, what we ended up doing, probably a lot of you might have saw that through the listserv, but I posted a whole bunch of videos. Mainly, I put them together for me because I don't know how many of you have used Microsoft Power BI, but it is a beast of a program. Like, it's not simple and it's not super intuitive. So Robert Thorne in our office, he's our math liaison, and I have been working on trying to figure it out. And what we do is we take data, just like Amy showed. We dump those reports from our Canusha system, and then we post them on SharePoint site. So the file is hosted there, and then that way multiple individuals can access it, and then we take Power BI and connect it over to those files, so it's referencing those files. Power BI does like all of the processing of that raw data, and then we're able to embed a dashboard on our website. And I can show you. Let's see if I have the ability to share. I can show you what that looks like. Oh wait, I don't have the ability. It's been disabled. So.
Hey, Melissa, can you make Brandon?
Yeah, he should be good now.
Okay, great. Let me go to our website here and share. Okay, so yeah, I'll show you where that data is posted. So if you go to the our website, slcc.edu/concurrent enrollment, you're welcome to check this out on your end if you want to have more interactivity. And then you go into the About CE, and then there are the links. And this is where we put all of our annual reports every year and where our concurrent enrollment data dashboard is. So just to give you an idea of what these look like, I'll just expand out the enrollments, for example. Show you how. So this data, like we go in, we have a shared calendar, and we have reminders of when we need to update the data. So during the registration period, we're running that on a daily basis or every other day, and replacing the data with the raw file with the new data, and we just keep plugging that in every day. So it's a manual process, but it only takes like 2 or 3 minutes to do that. I talked to Avi, and because our data science and analytics team said, well, potentially if you're hosted on on Amazon AWS and using Django, you could potentially build a server where you could just load those files on a nightly basis. So Avi would essentially like those would run every night onto a server, and then we would reference that. And then we don't even have to bother updating it. But we're working out some kinks in the data to make sure that it's accurate before we end up doing that. But hopefully eventually we'll move to that where those reports, instead of going through the process that Amy showed to run the reports, they just automatically dump onto the server, and then we reference those. And then this data dashboard is updated nightly, all of the different dashboards. And this one will reference like 4 or 5 different reports that we run, and then it consolidates all the data together. But you can see that within Power BI, well, I can't see it because this darn camera thing's in the way. What does that say? That's the district. So you can filter it down by district. So I've been going around to each of the principals with the schools that we work with and showing them. So you can go into like the Canyons district, and now the numbers adjust over time for the Canyons district. And then they can drill it down by school. So the nice thing with district is then they compare one school to another. So if we get some friendly competition to see who can be the highest enrolling school, you can filter it down by course as well and discipline. This gives academic departments the ability to see how their courses are doing at different schools or different enrollments at different schools, that sort of thing. And then you've got other things. So we'll use it to track trends. So these are enrollment trends. So we can see most of the enrollments come in the first week. This is, what's this, fall 22, spring 23. It started a little later. And then also fall 22. The majority of the enrollments came in, and there were just a few trickling, and then there was a spike here. So we can look at this data and try to determine, what happened, and can we flatten it? Can we have most of the enrollments occur in the first 2 weeks, and then that curve flattens a lot, meaning that we've got improvements in efficiency. And then we've got a running total, so people can compare 1 year to the next in terms of how their enrollments are coming in and whether they're going to exceed last year or if they're not quite there. And that's for fall semester. And then we get into like the overall running totals and trends for our entire program. So there are no filters on this page. It's just for our program. And then there's spring semester. So you can build, like within Microsoft Power BI, you can build whatever filters and have whatever controls over the data visualization that you want if you know how to build that in. We also have, I'm not going to go through each of these, but you can explore them if you want. There's a student performance dashboard. So this looks at grade distribution, and they can change that by class and school, district, and even class status. Like we don't have, this has got 9th, 10th, and 11th and 12th graders. We really don't have that data. We just infer it based on the graduation date so that we can see, sort of compare how, if 9th graders are performing poorly or are they doing just fine in certain courses. And this compares the GPA to the number of credits acquired. So we can look at how students are doing, because I was meeting with a school the other day, and they had like one student over here that had 18 or more credits with a 0 to 2.4 GPA. And that's a big red flag that the high schools need to be monitoring for. So hopefully when the principal sees this data, they're like, okay, we need to do some work internally to try to work things out. And then there's other pages like on the student performance. This compares students that are taking classes, concurrent students taking classes on our campus to concurrent students taking classes in the high school and their performance. Because there's a lot of debate, like that concurrent enrollment is like a dumbed down program, that there's grade inflation and that sort of thing. So this is a way to either prove that that's true or not true, and get some discussion going. And then we track our academic advising program. This includes data from Canusha, but also grabs data from YouTube. So we can compare, look at the analytics, comparing video 1 in the academic planning process to video 2 and whether there's a correlation. And then we also have YouTube videos, I think YouTube view counts compared to the number of plans generated. And this is relatively new. This is, we just completely overhauled our advising program. So the numbers are pretty low right now, but hopefully over time we'll see those improve. We got quality control. This monitors all of the things that faculty liaisons are required to do. So onboarding new instructors in the course content, just general onboarding. We've got annual discipline-specific professional development. syllabus reviews. So we monitor how many syllabi have been uploaded and how many have been reviewed. And then we track trends, because ideally you're going to see one spike for the uploads, and after that, one spike for reviews. So we continue to tweak sort of what we're doing there so that hopefully we can improve efficiency in the review process. These are college experience evaluations and the student course evaluations. So you can filter by any of these questions to see how students are responding. You can even drill it down by discipline and high school. And then last of all, the faculty visits. So that's in the quality control. And then race ethnicity, we grab data from the K-12 system here in Utah. They share that they've got a website where you can download race ethnicity data, and then we run the data from our Canusha system, and we had to do some fancy finagling to get that data to match in terms of, because we have like different designations for, we might say Hispanic and they might say Latino. We have a not specified. The high schools don't have that option. So trying to get that to line up was it was some work, but now we can look at equity gaps in the high schools. So it compares the population of students participating in concurrent enrollment in the high school compared to the race ethnicity of the overall population at the high school. So that's what this one looks at. So anyway, that's what we developed. Like I said, all these files are just stored on a SharePoint site, and then they reference that. But hopefully down the road, we'll be able to build out a server so we don't have to do that updating, and then it'll require zero work to update these. And I'm all about like zero work. The easier it can be, the better. So I mean, that's what we're doing. I sent out the YouTube videos, and I'll post in the chat here where those videos are at, the playlist for those videos. I mean, they're super rough because, like I said, I was just doing them for me. So I didn't forget like 6 months from now if I have to update something. But it goes through everything from how we run the data to where we post the data to how we connect the data to how I publish it on the website to how I built out every dashboard, all of the measures that we wrote. Like those are all, everything is there. So if you know nothing about Power BI like I did, then that should get you going in the right direction and building a public dashboard. So I'll get that posted in the chat. I don't know if anybody
Thank
has
you,
any
Brandon.
yeah.
Thank you. That was really good. Yeah, I'll see if you have any questions.
Yeah, and I can add that link into after this recording in the one folder too.
I think our brains are just exploding, Brendan. So thank you for that. We have to process, and then I'm sure you'll be hearing from some of my folks.
Yeah, mine was
Yeah.
total mush after like putting the darn stinking thing together. Oh, it was so painful. I had to like bang my head against the wall so many times.
Yeah, I think for me, it's beautiful in another way, in the sense that the data from one system is actually used by somebody else to process it and do all this. So Power BI, Tableau, those are amazing systems that most institutions have. And what Brandon is doing here is just leveraging the data collection from multiple locations and just feeding it to them. So if you guys are not great with Power BI or Tableau, there might be some IR folks in your institution who are, I would say, experts in that. And Brandon also talked a little bit about setting up these automatic feeds that go in there. And with that, what we are going to explore is AWS, which is our hosting partner. They have these warehouses called data lakes where we can dump all these information in there. So it's all accessed in a secure way, and we can have separate buckets for each institution. And then Power BI or Tableau or whatever other system you guys have can talk directly to that and query it. Those systems are amazing in terms of what they do, but they also require a lot of resources to run. So we can't give access to the production systems, but we can set up some tasks on our end to send out structured or unstructured data into the AWS warehouses. So we'll keep you posted on how this evolves with Brandon, and maybe we'll have him talk about it in more depth in one of the upcoming sessions.
I'd be happy to.
Does anybody have any final questions or comments or Friday? Woohoo! Oh, this was awesome. Thanks, Amy and Brandon. We'll be in touch with the date for the next session, which, as I mentioned, is going to be on Pittsburgh's payments and scholarships that they offer. And we'll hopefully have some more folks for the following quarter, and we'll put a schedule together so at least you'll have. I'm gonna try to be more intentional on when we're offering those, because I know there's very busy times for everybody. So we'll think about that this year. So yeah, I guess that's it. Thank you so much for everybody coming today, and I hope everyone has a really nice weekend.
Bye, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you.